So hello everyone, welcome to this week's YouTube video. My name is Mike Ingledew and I'm all about making you successful with your integrated product support strategies. Whether that's identifying the right service provider or software solutions, identifying the right standards or specifications for you to use, or just developing your skills and knowledge around IPS. Now, those of you who have been with me on the channel from the very beginning, remember I started YouTube as kind of a little let's give it a go, and it's been relatively successful. But back in the day, I used to do something called Thursday Thoughts. Now, I took Thursday Thoughts off the agenda, if you like, for several reasons. One was time. I was just getting busier and busier. Then the dreaded big C came along for everybody, and we were all locked down, and markets went quiet, and those kind of things. And then I was a little bit worried about GDPR and if we were going to cross lines and those kind of things. I've done some research and it looks like providing there are lines I cannot cross when it comes to GDPR and copyright. So I'm not going to do that. So what I've done is I've decided to bring back kind of a monthly update or a monthly kind of what are the top things that I've identified in the market, which I think are interesting. You guys might want to go and do a little bit of research, or you may want to get involved or contact a company to offer your services or something along those lines. Anyway, what I think might be interesting for us as a community that we're building here. Now, this is not the same as the vendor briefing that I do once a quarter. I do a once a quarter vendor briefing that we put up on our website, and the vendors can come in. And what I'm seeing from the market that may affect product strategy, implementations on projects, etc., etc. So that it's slightly different. So that is targeted specifically at the vendor community that may want to have some input, independent input into product vision, strategy, those kind of things. Anyway, I've got my notes in front of me. I've written down, I think it's 10 items that I think are interesting, and I'm just going to throw them at you. You can decide whether you want to get involved. I'll put links below if I can. And if there's something I mentioned that you want to get involved with, then ping me on LinkedIn or just send me an email. Conversely, if you've got some interesting news that you come across, send me a link and I'll give it a mention in the next round of news updates. So if you think this is kind of useful information for you and interesting for you in the community, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe, and then I know that this is the kind of content that you're interested in. So without further ado, let's get into the items that I've picked up. So ATA, they've released a whole raft of updates to their standard specifications. ATA 2400, 2500, and Spec 2000 all had updates. Now, TDW Plus members, I'm going to do some specific tutorials on what those updates are. But for those of you who are not subscribed to that service, go on over to the ATA websites. I'll put a link down below. You can go and see what those changes are and gain access to those standards if you need them. The other item I wanted to mention, of course, is our event this year. I am getting involved in a lot of discussions around AI and generative AI and how that's going to affect technical publications, how that's going to affect training information. Is it going to do things like make S1000D obsolete? And so this year at TDW Live, I'm going to do a presentation on how I think AI is going to affect, not if, is going to affect how we do things in our community. And the more I research, the more I can see the material impact on what's going to happen in our domain. So if you're interested in that, TDW Live, I'm doing a morning session on the S series and SX000I and what that means for our products. And then in the afternoon, I'm doing how AI is going to affect all of the things that we talked about in the morning. And then I'm going to talk about what I think is going to happen in the future of product support and how I think it's going to affect things like S1000D, 6000, those kind of things. Those of you who are interested, the UK Ministry of Defence released a public comment version of DefStan 00601 Part 1, which is contracting for technical publications. So if you've not seen that, or you need to get access to that, you should know who you need to speak to. If you don't know who you need to speak to, get in contact with me and I can point you at the person you need to speak to. But the MOD Business Rules Part 1 has had an update, and I think it's out for public consultation until I think it's mid-August, I think. So if you're involved in that area, let's do it. Let's get involved. I did see a news item this week on Flight Global that was all about the Archer platform, an eVTOL platform by the US Air Force, have plowed a load of money into this. So when we started talking about e-platforms 2 or 3 years ago, and what happened, well, I said that whilst right now we're looking at taxis and, kind of short haul flights for these eVTOLs, I said there will be military application of this in the future. There's no question. And we're now seeing it. Military applications are coming through. Why is that important? Why do I think that's going to affect us? Well, there's been a whole load of work go into the SNS structures that are going into S1000D and into the ATA standards. Is how can we do these product structures from an SNS perspective? And I've said from the very beginning, we also need to be cognizant of military platforms, and that's come to fruition. So whether these platforms decide to work with or use S1000D or not, I have no influence. I have no idea. But what I can tell you is that the specifications will need to maintain and change to keep pace with what the market is doing. I did see an article this week on MROs and how they are now looking towards generative AI and how they think that's going to help them in their particular areas. That then obviously has led to subsequent articles and pieces from people like the FAA that are looking at how they are going to have to regulate, monitor, control how AI is used in certainly areas like in MROs. And I can see how it's going to work. And I can see how we are fundamentally, depending on the role that we play in IPS, going to have to rethink about how we are upskilling ourselves, but also how we're going to interact with data. So that was a really interesting article that I read again online. This comes down and ties in nicely to a skills shortage in the market. AI is going to help us with bridging the gap for skills, and skills shortages that I think is probably one of the upsides. But I saw a press release, I think it could have been on LinkedIn, that Marshall's Aerospace have opened a skills center. Now, when I did some consulting for them a long time ago now, pre-big C word, they were talking about this skills center that they were going to open, and I think they've opened it near Milton Keynes, which seems to be kind of the hub of all modern goodness here in the UK. They've opened up a skills center there, so you can go and have a look at what they're looking at doing. And I know that at the time when I was talking to them, they were also looking at the softer skills, the technical authoring, the technical illustrations, that kind of stuff. Don't know whether they're still doing that, but I think it's key that we are encouraging new talent into the market. And we, as things like AI and AR, VR, XR, all those kind of things are materially impacting us, I think that, this younger, fresh pool of new ideas, new approaches, new vision will help us only develop. And this is just a little kind of trumpet blowing for TDW. Young Lad at a major tier one here in the UK. Recently was awarded his degree, which TDW had a small part to play in that. So I'm chuffed for you, Charlie. We did his dissertation was based on some work that we did around S1000D and some transforming some S1000D DMRLs into something that is a little bit more useful, which has actually ultimately ended up in the IPS toolkit. So just a little bit of self-trumpet blowing there. Glad that we were able to help. I was asked to help put some kind of a problem together for Charlie, and he went and knocked it out the park, did a fantastic job, and is now full-time within this tier one. So hats off to you, my friend. Well done to you. This is an early warning notice. Now, I always say on this channel, I am not a formal mouthpiece for ATA, for S1000D, and nor do I want to be. However, that being said, I am involved with something that's going on right now that if you want to get involved with this, I'm going to tell you how you can get involved very shortly. But we have, under the guises of the S1000D steering committee, they have authorized the stepping up of what is known as a process data module task team. And this is based on some research that I've done, along with some conversations I've had with, Dr. Mike Day, Stefan at Airbus, all these kind of guys, where we're looking at, and obviously Charlie was involved with this as well. We're looking at the adoption and the implementation of the process data module in our S1000D projects. And I've captured some metrics from the market on, why are people not doing it? Do people want to do it, etc. Anyway, so this process data module task team is still being set up. However, if you want to get involved with this, and there are qualification criteria, not set by me, set by the rules that govern all of these specifications, do drop me a note, and I'll tell you how you can get involved. We're looking for software companies, we're looking for technical publications developers, we're looking for anybody that wants to learn from or get involved with or develop process data modules within your organization. So I'll again, I'm not a formal mouthpiece, but if you want to get involved, let me know. I also read an article, I think it was only a couple of days ago, on the FAA are now looking to are changing certification requirements around products where you have to clearly identify all risks associated with the product design. And I think this is a direct result. The article I read said it was a direct result of the MAX issue. I'm not going to go through that. I think we all kind of know what went on with that. But the FAA are now looking at changing or strengthening certification processes around products. So that would be something that could be interesting to you, depending on where you sit in the IPS chain. So Adobe, I read this. I thought, should I mention it? Will I not mention it? Could I? I'm going to mention it. So Adobe released a report in the trends within 3D, and I shared the link with my friends at Aludo. Sent them a link, and they did a webinar on it. And I've read the report. I think it's a little bit weak. I think it's more of a sales piece, to be honest. But anyway. Go and if you're interested in 3D and that kind of stuff, you can go and have a look at their report on what they found. I think it's actually a direct result of them acquiring a company, and it's just a little bit of a marketing piece. Is my personal opinion. There's a big event coming up here in the UK later on in the year called Dsei. Those of you who know what Dsei is, I will be going to that event. My plan is to go to Excel in London, which is a big hardware equipment kind of show. And what I noticed when I went to DVD earlier this year is that DVD, that you could see that there was more IPS kind of talk. People were talking a lot. Was DVD this year? I can't remember if it was this year or last year. But anyway, those are. So if you're going to Dsei here in the UK, give me a shout. Be more than happy to sit and have a coffee with you. I know that I'm going to meet the guys from Sonovision there, and I am going to be there probably for 2 days, depending on workload. Now, this is a shout out to my friends at Aludo. I spotted on LinkedIn, and they've given me permission to talk about this. They have released a free 350 icon pack for Corel Draw. So if you're a Corel Draw user and you want a free library of icons, I'll put a link below. You can go down and you can contact them, and it's completely free. Now, I do know as well, if you ask them nicely when you are there, is that Christian has done some work around creating some S1000D libraries as well for Corel Draw. So if you're interested in that, again, I'll put a link down below. You can get in touch with, if you want direct contact details with Christian, get in touch with me, or go onto my LinkedIn profile, have a look at who I'm connected with, and you'll find Christian there. He's done lots of work around working with hotspots and, line weights and implementing business rules or S1000D guidance into Corel Draw around what the S1000D requirements are. So those are kind of the top things that I think are interesting to us in IPS, content development, data production, those kind of things. Let me know if you found this useful, if you found it interesting. If you didn't, then tell me what you'd like to see on the channel. I know that lots of you are still wanting me to do some software reviews. I'm really not over enamored about doing that because we're in a small market. A lot of the vendors are very protective about what I talk about. So if I talk about, RWS's viewer, I have to be sure that I'm not letting out any secrets. If I talk about Raytheon CSDB, I need to be sure that I'm not letting out any secrets. So, and they all share information with me. So I just need to be sure whatever I say on this channel is not going to breach any confidence, is not going to share any secrets, is not going to give any of their competitors a lift up, if you like. So anyway, there you go. That's it. That's my news update for the channel. Hopefully you found it useful and interesting. Again, if you've got any news that you'd like me to mention, get in touch with me, connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message through LinkedIn. It's probably the best way. And yeah, I'll go over here and get ready to fade you out. But until the next one, stay safe. And if you're coming to TDW Live, look forward to it. Take care.